Hola, yo soy Renata Roa, soy conferencista y escritora y estoy feliz de estar aquí en los 20 años de Educación financiera de Citibanamex. Y tengo de verdad el lujo de tener hoy a un súper invitado. Estas preguntas que te hice en la introducción, sí, él ya las ha estudiado por muchísimo tiempo. Es una de las grandes autoridades en las ciencias de la felicidad. Su clase, de hecho, en Harvard es de las más populares porque, a ver, ¿quién no quiere ser feliz? Él es Tal Ben-Shahar. Te invito a que te quedes en esta conversación para entender lo que sentimos, pero sobre todo utilizarlo a nuestro favor.
Tal, you are the top voice in terms of happiness and in terms of actually emotions. I've been studying the subject for the last 15 years because I consider myself an emotional dyslexic in rehab. In the sense that just for today, I will try to understand what's going on, but I need to confess I'm such a sensitive person that it really took me a while. First of all, to feel my body and then to actually explain it in my brain. But it's been such a journey because me working as a speaker in conferences, I get to know lots of leaders that obviously don't have this approach, and obviously, even though they are also emotional dyslexic, they will never confess it. And I really believe emotions are very linked with decisions. So for these leaders, in terms of a decision maker, of leadership, of obviously being inspiration for lots of people, what would be your biggest advice on how can we actually start, first of all, connecting, feeling, and then trying to use them in the best way possible?
Right, so the basic premise, the basic idea here is that emotions affect us, whether we like it or not, whether we're aware of them or not, whether we're conscious or unconscious, they affect us. Now, the more you learn to be aware of them, the more you learn to accept and embrace them, the better off you are.
Okay.
Why? Because while our emotions provide us with very important input, they can also subconsciously control our behavior. And I'll give you an example. So, envy is a natural human emotion. And we experience it at times. If I'm not aware of it and not conscious of it, I'm likely to act on it. What does this mean? I'm likely to hurt the other person. And find reasons why I'm justified in hurting the other person. Now that of course doesn't contribute to the relationship, it doesn't contribute to me or to anything. However, if I'm aware, conscious of envy, then I can observe it and say, oh, how interesting. I may even find a home for it in my body. Oh, I feel it in my throat, or I feel it in my chest. And I observe it. And then I can say, all right, given that, how do I want to be? What is the kind of person that I want to be? What's the best version of myself? I can still be generous, I can still be kind, I can still help and contribute to the other person and by extension to myself. Let me give you another very common emotion, and that is fear, anxiety. If I ignore my fear of public speaking, then I will run away from these opportunities. I will run away from social interactions because I feel anxious and it's not fun feeling anxious. But if I'm aware of it, conscious of it, and embrace that emotion and simply say to myself, I'm a human being, of course I experience anxiety at times, then I can choose the kind of action that is most appropriate. See, courage is not about not having fear. Courage is about having fear and going ahead anyway. So being aware of our emotions and then accepting and embracing our emotions are two very important steps that we can take towards our better self.
I love it. And I love it because I had the fortune to meet a Formula One ex-champion driver. And I got a very interesting conversation with him because he really ensured and said by a fact that to win and to arrive to that level, you really need to give up your emotions and just focus on what is going on and the objective and just do. And I was just like, no, you cannot say that, you cannot just get rid of emotions because emotions is, and quoting you, what makes us human. And we need to embrace the fact that we are humans. So, what do you think about this statement that I still believe it can't be possible unless you are dead or you are a psychopath? So, what can you say around that statement?
The key is not to avoid emotions, the key is to channel emotions.
Okay.
So for instance, I can feel very anxious and then channel it toward excitement.
Okay.
I can feel very angry and channel it towards action. So the question is not whether or not we have emotions, we do. The question is, what do we do with them? And to give someone advice to not be anxious or not be angry or not be upset or not be sad is counterproductive. It will lead to more sadness, more anger, and to the emotions dominating us, controlling us, rather than us channeling and using them.
Amazing. I was just thinking, obviously what we feel is also a consequence of all our environment. Social media, this jealousy that you were saying, that obviously I feel envy because they're happening other stuff, can make me sometimes feel I'm not good enough. How can we make ourselves aware of this, and how can we filter? So our personal narrative and these dialogues we maintain with ourselves really can help us grow and get the better person we can be, and not just stay us getting grumpy with ourselves or believing we are not good enough because we haven't arrived to that position yet.
The first thing we need to do, and the first thing we need to help our children or the younger generation do, is limit our consumption of social media. Because if all day, every day, this is what's happening with millions and billions of not just children, adults as well, is spending way too many hours on social media. And social media, you don't see the real world, you see a filtered world. And by our very nature, we compare ourselves. That we can't avoid it.
Is there any amount of maximum time we should spend in social media?
It's not just how much time, it's also what do we spend it on.
Okay.
So, if we spend it on, just looking at, beauty magazines all the time, and we're just seeing these perfect photoshopped models, that's a problem, because that's an unrealistic standard. If we spend it all the time counting the number of likes that we have, that's a problem. If on the other hand, we watch a TED lecture on vulnerability or learning something interesting that's going on in a different culture, that's, it's the quality matters. It's not just the quantity. A rule of thumb, I would say, more than 1 hour a day on social media or browsing, going through it is too much already. And yet kids are online for 8 hours a day.
Yes.
And that's very harmful and very destructive. I'm not against social media, I'm not against technology. I think there are wonderful things there. I just met a friend that I haven't seen since the age of 12, and because our parents moved countries, and I met him again thanks to social media. I am in touch with thousands and thousands of students, worldwide, thanks to social media and technology. However, when social media comes in the place of face-to-face, in-person interactions, that's when it becomes a problem. When I sit in front of the computer for 8 hours a day and I don't exercise regularly and I don't move consistently, that's a problem.
So reduce our social media so we don't compare ourselves.
And there's more. What we also need to do is learn to appreciate.
I love that. And I actually was going to finish with that word, but amazing that you took it out now.
Yeah, and to learn to appreciate ourselves, be grateful for who we are, for what we are, focus on our strengths, on our superpowers, rather than always highlighting our weaknesses. We all have our superpower.
superpowers?
Our superpower may be our ability to listen and to interact with others. Our superpower may be in the realm of thinking. It could be mathematics, and it could be dance. And the question is, how can we spend more of our time exercising our superpower and less of our time, not no time, but less of our time engaging in our weaknesses? Because that's one of the paths, the most powerful paths to healthy, real self-esteem. Healthy and real self-esteem doesn't come when 1,000 people send me a like, or when they tell me how great my picture is on social media. That's a temporary high. Yeah, it feels good. It goes away very quickly. Deep, meaningful, lasting self-esteem comes when we exercise our strengths, our superpowers on a regular basis.
I love it, because obviously they taught us to fix ourselves, and they taught us to get better when we are not good enough, instead of actually focusing and make us, as you said, appreciate what we have. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I really believe the people that have emotional dyslexic are super grateful to have not just information, but tools to help us in the path, because I always believe that nowadays with social media, we all know our problems, but we don't know how to solve them or to actually take action to do that. So I'll say with these super amazing and specific tools, we can really walk a path of self-appreciation, and in that way, obviously, understand our emotions. Is there any last thing you would like to add to this amazing and enlightening conversation?
Thank you. So Howard Gardner, who's one of my teachers at Harvard, said that we need to stop asking whether or not a student is smart. We need to start asking, what is the student smart at? And we all have our weaknesses, and many of the weaknesses we do want to work on and fix. However, we also all have our strengths. And this is where the primary focus needs to be, whether it's in ourselves, or if we're parents in our children, or if we're managers in our employees.
I love it. Thank you very much. We really hope you enjoy Mexico, an amazing pair of tacos with lots of salsa. And if you want to know more about happiness, emotions, please go to his website. He has amazing, interviews, lots of amazing content. So thank you very much for all what you do for the humanity and for us to actually have a nice and enlightening time. So see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you.